and Zoobie show on the world famous LIR.com, 927LIR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake, Zoobie, and special guest Alexander Stam for the second year in a row, the man wonder of draft picks. How are you, Alexander? Welcome back.
Doing good. Thanks for having me again. I know I got high praise last year, so just got to live up to the hype again.
Sure, you're on the spot, Alex. Thanks for coming back. You're closing down your first year at Fairfield University. How is that working out?
It's going good. It's a good time for it to come to an end. It's dragging on now, so I'm happy to come back home now.
Okay. When are finals?
We got one more week and then that starts. So.
Oh, really? Wow. So draft, you're going to be watching, I assume, definitely the first 2 days. Do you watch day 3 too?
I don't really watch day 3. No, I just check on my phone. So.
Right. All right, cool. So that's what we're going to focus on, right, John? We're going to focus on the first round. There's a lot of drama going on, and we'll get to Alex's picks that we call the second rounders who become the best players of the draft class. Alex has got a few more for this year. We're looking forward to that. Then we're going to talk local tri-state football teams and what they're going to do. The Jets and the Giants both in the top 10. But John, I mean, you can't even make it up. The gods of sports news gave us a layup to talk about. Starting off, we got lucky. It wasn't tomorrow because today is Monday, and hot off the presses, what a trade the Jets have made in what you would call the bargain basement of trade value, the infamous 6th, 7th pick swap. Tell us all about it, John.
Yeah, Mr. Wilson has finally gone, surprisingly, to the Broncos. And the funny thing about that particular trade is the Broncos actually were dumb enough to give us half of his salary. The Jets are paying half the salary. They're paying the other half. Listen, new spot, Peyton, let's see what he can do with him. Right now, he's the backup. Who knows? He may be the starter. I mean, they really, if you look at the Broncos, really, who's starting there?
They don't have a starter.
No,
they don't.
That's what I'm
Their
saying.
starter is going to get picked on Thursday night. So I think they're going to go with a rookie starter. They're going to try desperately to get one. Zach's a little bit of insurance. Because Alex, they have? They have Stidham, Jared Stidham. Is that their technical?
Stidham. I don't think Stidham's the answer there either, so I don't know what they're going to do.
He's a good third. Between him and Zach will be a battle for the backup job. But you're right, John. Sean Payton, that's a good spot for Wilson. It really is. Going back, no pressure. So I know a lot of Jet fans are now going to think that he's going to become a good player. I would say it's probably 25-75 against that. But he's got a shot, no doubt.
He's still young. The fact of the matter is, the Broncos received the 7th rounder plus $2.5 million or 2.275,
whatever.
And the Jets get the 6th rounder. So, it's a shame that we wasted such a high pick on him. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing how poorly the Jets have done with their number 1 picks, particularly on quarterbacks. It's just amazing.
Well, I'll tell
you look back at who they passed over for these two guys. Wow.
Well, let's don't go down that road. But I just want to mention, like, the 6th, 7th pick swap is like the GM gift to each other, where you bail out a fellow GM because they would have released them. Let's face it, they had no choice. But we'll do the infamous 6, 7 pick swap, and you'll do me a favor down the road, because that is like getting traded for the proverbial bag of baseballs, as the old joke said, right? I mean, that's what a 6, 7 pick swap is. That's virtually nothing. It's a save face. So good luck to Zach. the Jets, like you mentioned, John, and they're always picking the wrong guys, but they also develop the way they develop their quarterbacks, and well, they have learned their lesson. Unlikely, but it doesn't matter. The Jets obviously don't have a rookie quarterback. They're not drafting one on Thursday.
Well, look who they left them with. They left them with Gaze and Hackett.
Right.
You think that there was any type of mentoring going on there? That was a mess. Absolute
It's
mess for that kid to walk into.
so. What do you think, Alex? What do you give him any shot to become a good pro?
Um, I want to say no, but I'll give him like a very slight chance, like very slight. But no, it's not going to happen. So don't worry.
You can say it. You can say it. It won't come back to bite you, most likely, but you never know. So anyway, so that was a John. That was a gift from the gods that we would start there. So it's either that or talking about Aaron Rodgers throwing another bullet pass to Garrett Wilson in practice. I mean, that is like, how many times are we going to see those highlights? I mean, it's like, and then in more like constant talk about the uniforms. This franchise does not get it, but that's another story in itself.
Yeah, I mean, the headlines hopefully this coming Thursday is that we get a decent pick. I mean, I don't know why. If you want to go right into it, guys, I keep hearing about this tight end, and I don't agree with this at all. I don't agree with this at all.
All right, first thing, and I'll let Alex comment on Bowers. He's not a traditional tight end. So when we're talking about prospects here, think more in the comp, like a Travis Kelce type. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer, so that's a little bit absurd, but he's very similar to Kelce, John. Just to give you an idea, this
Hmm.
is not your run-of-the-mill tight end. So I don't know what I mean, you can get right into it, Alex, on the Jets. What do you think they're going to do? What would you do at 10? Trade down, trade up? Who do you like? What do you think?
Well, I'll start with Brock Bowers because you were talking about him. He's definitely not your typical tight end, like you said. But I mean, one thing that I saw, because I wanted to like see if he really is legit, because there's so much hype behind him. If you watch some of his highlights from Georgia, you'll see that they run the end around with him. And when do you ever see a tight end get an end around? Like that's just he's not a typical tight end. He's almost like a slot receiver in a way with the way that they use him. Um, I mean, I just don't think he's the guy at 10. It just, for me, like that's not the pick. Will I be upset if he's picked at 10? Kinda. I mean, obviously I'm gonna root for him, but I mean, he has so much potential to be great. So like, I don't want to like downplay him because yeah, he probably will be a good player in the NFL. I just don't think the Jets are the team for him. So I personally would pass on Brock Bowers. He's a like maybe like a trade down and then grab him for me. Like if we grab like a second rounder and trade down and take him, I wouldn't be opposed to that because you still have to draft an offensive lineman pretty high in this draft. And I would personally, you asked me what I would do at 10. For me, the dream situation is Rome Odunze. He's the guy I want the most. Um, Neighbors and Harrison, they're not going to be there. Odunze has a chance. I don't think it's like a really good chance, but I think it's enough for me to say like he's my first option. Let's assume he's not there at 10. I wouldn't necessarily trade up for him because I mean we don't have a lot of picks high in this draft. So if we trade up for him, we have to lose our third, and we probably don't go up like one or two spots. So really, we would walk away with this draft with only a Odunze. But at 10, I wouldn't be opposed to taking a tackle, but I feel like we can trade down and still get a tackle. So for me, that's if you don't get a Odunze at 10, I would rather trade down and get a tackle. For me, like that's probably the dream situation is a Odunze at 10, but a tackle at 10, I wouldn't be opposed to either. But
Right. So who do you like among those tackles, right? Because I think it's almost a guarantee that Joe Alt, whose dad actually played in the NFL from Notre Dame, is going to be gone, right? There's just virtually no chance between because Tennessee at 7, it seems like I can't imagine him getting by them. Could even go higher. So who do you like? Because there's I mean, there is a bunch of prospects, and most people think this is one of the best tackle drafts in years, and that's why I agree with you. And I'll get to what I really think in a minute, but it's you got to get a tackle in a draft that's tackle rich. So I agree with you there on that part. But who would you put in? Who would you take next? Say obviously if Alt's off the board, who would be your number one guy?
Yeah, Alt, there's no way he's there. If he is, obviously he's a great option. I really like Talisi Fuaga from Oregon State. He's one of those big athletic tackles that can move. I think he's a really good right tackle. Like that's where I would put him on the Jets. I think he has a good chance to beat out Morgan Moses. Not saying he has to though, because I do like Morgan Moses, but I mean this Jets offensive line is glass the past couple of years. So I expect guys to go down, which is why I feel like it's so important to get a tackle. I think at 10 he will be there. I would be shocked if he goes before. I can see it happening though. But I think he's also a good option if you trade down a couple of picks. Like if you can acquire like a third rounder and move down 2 or 3 spots. Another option, the Vikings at 11. I think no one's really talking about it, but I feel like a 1 draft pick down trade with the Jets and the Vikings, and you grab like a 3rd, 4th rounder. I feel like that's something that could happen because a lot of teams might try and jump the Vikings. That no one's really talking about that, but I think if you go down like 1 pick, grab another late rounder and get your tackle, I feel like that's the perfect situation. And I like Fuaga personally.
All right, there you go. So the kid from Penn State, what's his name? Fashanu, right?
Sean, something like that. Yeah.
It's a nightmare, John, with the names. So it's the offensive linemen. There's so many different names that are similar. You're gonna literally lose your mind. So good luck on draft day when you get. Luckily, you got that list of draft content that you sent me, which was great. So you could definitely go down that list. And there's a lot of different options. Let's put it that way. So, all right, Alex is on the record. Rome Odunze, wide receiver, Washington, is his pick if he's there. So we could get right into the top 10 to see how feasible that is, because you just go by the numbers, right, guys? There is a very strong possibility that 4 quarterbacks are taken in the top 10. I'm not crazy enough to say they're going 1 through 4, and I'll let Alex comment in a second on that. But there's a very good chance they're all in the top 10. So if you throw those 4 guys, then you've got the receivers, Neighbors and Harrison, which I think almost everybody is taking in the top 9, because the Jets would take either one of those guys in a heartbeat if they were there. So you're going to say they're off the board. Then you got Joe Alt. You're already up to 7. And we haven't even no one's taken a defensive player yet. So that Odunze, Bowers at 10, it's almost a guarantee. Now they could be 8 and 9. There's no doubt they could be 8 and 9. So it is a possibility, but just want to make sure the fans out there know, like when they're going through, like if you're a Jet fan and you're not paying attention, and then you just keep on hearing, oh, a quarterback. That's very good news for the Jets at 10.
Yeah. Do you think anywhere in this draft, and I'll ask both of you, anywhere in this draft did the Jets draft a quarterback?
I'll go first on that one, Alex. I think there's a slight chance they take one like in the 7th round. I think people talking, they have 2 4s. There's a possibility there. But to me, 4th round draft picks on quarterbacks, that's almost like a wasteland of guys who get cut eventually. Who can forget the immortal James Morgan that Joe Douglas took a few years ago in the 4th round? So I'm going to say maybe I'll give it a 20% chance, John, and I would say it's going to be that 6th rounder for Zach Wilson. How about that? What do you think, Al?
Yeah, there's a couple guys' names you could throw in there to see who they take. I'll throw one in, Jordan Travis from Florida State. I like him a lot. I think his injury is really killing his draft stock. But yet again, he's not going to touch the field for us next year. It doesn't matter. He's one of those guys that hopefully you take him in like the 5th, 6th round. Obviously, the Jets aren't going to take him before the 5th round. That'd be a dumb pick. I think he's a guy that goes 5th, 6th. He's a guy I could see the Jets taking and having him be the third quarterback on the roster, have him as the emergency QB. Makes sense to me because Tyrod is a great backup, so he's not going to touch the field. And having him learn from Rodgers, it makes sense for them to draft the guy late. And also makes sense for them to actually ask Rodgers' opinion in the situation, which is the one time you want Rodgers to be playing GM, which everyone makes jokes about as Rodgers being the GM. Is he going to draft Bowers at 10, which is what everyone on Instagram says. But no, I think fifth, sixth round before that is a waste of a pick in my opinion because there's no need and there's needs at other positions. So it's a dumb move.
Now, why do you think, what is this quarterback showing you that's so special that you would consider him? Because I don't know who he is. You just said his name.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
good about him?
No, I mean, I really like Jordan Travis. At Florida State this past year, first undefeated season. He's just a winner, and just like you said, he wins games. When Florida State lost him, they didn't make the college football playoffs, and they went undefeated. Why? Because they felt that he was their team. He felt that they're not the same team without him. If that was Alabama and their quarterback got hurt, but they were undefeated, they're still going to the college football playoffs. So I feel like he got a bad rep because of his injury, and people are gonna pass on him because of those reasons. And guys that get injured always fall in drafts. To me, it seems like a low risk, high reward 6th round pick. I mean,
what is he? He's a great passer. He has a gun for an arm. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know much about him.
He's like a mobile quarterback. He can throw, he can run. He's a very good runner, but he's not like a guy that looks to run the second the play starts. He actually stays in the pocket. I was actually shocked when I saw him projecting to go so late. I thought at least maybe like a 3rd rounder from the way he played this year. I mean, he led an undefeated team. He should have been the college football playoffs. And if he doesn't get hurt, we could be talking him as a 2nd rounder, late 1st, as a guy who maybe went to the playoffs and went against the 1 seed and won their game and went to the college football championship. Who knows? So, I mean, there's so much potential of a pick like that, and he could have went so high if they would have went to the playoffs, stayed healthy, maybe has a great game against Michigan. Who knows? So, I mean, for a 6th rounder, for me, that's a good pick.
Yeah, he probably slots in a little higher than 6. That would be awesome in the 6th round if the Jets could pick him up in the 6th round. He's a little undersized, John. He's not. I don't know what his measurables are, but he's a little undersized. But he's a player. He's a player. So yeah, 6th round, especially the Zach Wilson trade. How poetic would that be? So,
Oh boy.
yeah, I think they'll do something. But I mean, ultimately, when you look at the situation, I'll give my opinion on it. I'm desperate for a playmaker, and I get the offensive line need. Don't worry. But at this point, the way they're playing it, all in, if Tyron Smith gets hurt, they're in huge trouble. And can a rookie make that big of a difference if that happened? Maybe. There's no doubt. It's possible. But they are taking the proverbial dice roll with the 2 tackles, and even Moses at 33. So in that scenario, bring in another veteran tackle after the draft because the compensatory formula doesn't factor. So the rest of the guys will go. Then they'll have a veteran 3rd, hopefully. If it's Bakhtiari or Donovan Smith, 2 names to watch. Everybody's talking about those guys. Plus Carter Warren from last year. You may have room not to take the tackle. That counters what I said earlier, because in this draft, when there's this many tackles, you're supposed to get one. Mm-hmm. So what you're supposed to do is trade down and get a skilled player, say they go down to 13 with the Raiders as an example. Then you can take a guy like Brian Thomas, right? The other guy from LSU. So another type of playmaker. That's probably a little rich for him, but that's an example of what they can do. They probably can't get a 2nd rounder if they drop from 10 to 13. It's more like a 3rd or a 4th, unless somebody's trading up for a quarterback. So it's all desperation. So that's where the perfect scenario, as you mentioned, Alex, right? Trade down, but maybe between 4 to 8 slots, pick up a 3 at least, And then you looked to get skilled player in the third round, including a tight end. And it's funny because I saw Daniel Jeremiah. I don't know if you saw this, guys. He came out and he said the sweet spot in this draft for tight ends is the third round. So Brock Bowers is not a tight end. That's the problem with this. But his thought process is right. If you kind of want to get a tight end for value, you wait to the third round. So if they have that extra pick by moving down a few slots, take a tackle or a skilled player receiver, and still maybe get a tight end as well to add to get two skilled players. So this is full of high drama, guys. This is going to be one of the more interesting first rounds in years, especially with quarterback maybe going 1 through 4.
So both of your preferences are that you think the Jets should trade out of this spot.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way to go. Depends, of course, what the trade is. I mean, I almost look like trade down multiple times. Maybe you go from 10 to 13, then you go from 13 to 18, and you pick up a third and a fourth, and think, options like that. And then in the third round, when you're in the top of the third round, you can use those extra picks maybe to trade into the back of the second round and take an Alex guy that they can get in the second round who turns out to be one of the best rookies. So that's why there's so many options when you trade. If they just sit at 10, they're stuck until 72. I mean, maybe they can move up and trade because they have 2 number 4s. Maybe they move up in the third to the late second by trading one of those 4s. That's another thing to watch. But the bottom line is the Jets need to get 2 guys who are going to contribute on this team. I think they have to be in that position. And then last year's draft, we didn't get that. We got Tittman. We got one, but he didn't even play the whole season. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Alexander, so you would prefer to trade out of that spot?
If Adunze isn't there, I think the best move is trade down because you can still get a tackle when you trade down. You can get him there at 10 because they're not going to trade down if Joe Alt's there, but he's not going to be there. He's the only tackle that's like must stay at 10 in draft. So for me, if Adunze isn't there, I don't think he will be. I think we'll go like right before. But if he is, I'm taking Adunze. If not, I'm trading back and I'm taking a tackle. And I'm trying to go to like the 13, 14, 15 range and gain a third rounder. That's the value. Gain a third and still get a top tackle.
Okay. So we have 2 wheeler dealers here.
I think it's going to be tons of
by the way,
dealers.
Alexander, have you ever seen, and Paul knows I've said it to him several times on this show, have you ever seen the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner?
I think I saw a clip of it. I think I know what you're talking.
Watch it, because the way you guys are acting tonight, you would love this movie. It's all about the day of the draft.
Alex,
what they do.
I've told John that I'm a big draft Nick, as you probably know, for decades. And I told John I lived that movie. I don't need to watch it. And it is pretty funny that you're saying that at your age, because you're like, oh, I need to see a movie. I'm so into it, I'm part of it. So anyway, it's funny when it comes to the movies because it's like the high drama, and I will have to watch it, John, at this point. I have to see if it's on Netflix or one of these, or HBO Max. I guess I got to look into it. But it won't be before Thursday. So let's get back. The Giants will save because they're a huge factor in all this too at 6. But let's just slot these quarterbacks. And I definitely want to get Alex's feel because, John, I don't know if you're following what's going on. There's 4 quarterbacks, and we're going to let Alex mention them. And Alex, give me your top 4, or unless you don't even, because I actually think Michael Penix I would take Penix over J.J. McCarthy and probably Drake May, to be honest with you, because I look at these top 4 guys, and you'll mention the other names, is that there's no doubt if they're all going 1 through 4, at least one is guaranteed to bust. 1 guaranteed. More likely 2 out of the 4 will bust. And then maybe that next group of guys maybe is better. So anyway, how do you slot those 4? And would you include Penix or even Bo Nix in that 4 and make it 6?
Yeah, so I think Bo Nix getting a lot of hype lately. I know you just mentioned him. He's a guy that could be a potential team that trades up with the Jets and they go and take Bo Nix at 10. He's getting a lot of hype lately. He's definitely going up the boards in the projections. But for me, I think a clear Caleb Williams is number one, and then you really start your discussion after there. For me, I really like Drake May a lot. I think he's the two guy. I think Washington's making a mistake if they pass on him. I like Jaden for number
Daniels.
three. Yeah,
hmm
I think I don't think it's like a big gap between him and Drake May, but I still do think I like Drake May's pocket presence really well. I think he's a good job of reading the field and making the right throw. And when I watch him, I think he's a really good pocket passer, more of a traditional guy. So I feel like he's more of a safer pick at number two. I don't think that the Patriots are going to be there at three taking a quarterback. I see them trading down. I see a team like the Vikings trying to make a big move with either the Patriots or the Cardinals. The Cardinals, I don't see them staying at four. I think they can get a crazy haul there at four and go down with a team that is really desperate to trade up. But I think the Patriots are also a team to look out for. I don't know if they're going to get a big offer, but I know that the Patriots are trying to get like 3 first rounders from the Vikings, which is a lot to go from 11 to 3 and have it to give up I think they also own the 22nd or 23rd.
Yeah, it's
So you have to give up
23. Yeah.
and then they're going to give up their next 2 first rounders. That's a lot.
No.
I don't think they're going to make that deal. It's way too much. I don't think Jaden McDaniels is worth all of that. So I think the Patriots are going to stay at 3 and take McDaniels. But for me, I don't like that move for the Patriots. I don't think they should be taking him, but I don't think they're going to get a good trade partner. So I think they're going to end up staying and making the pick. I think the Cardinals are going to be the team to move down. I think it makes so much sense for them because they have tons of holes they have to fill, and there's just not a guy beside. Like I know Marvin Harrison is a good pick at 4, but I feel like they can get a lot more value than just that one wide receiver. I think the Vikings are once again that team to watch. I think they really like McCarthy. It seems like McCarthy's the 4th guy on the board. For me, I really like Bo Nix a lot. I feel like they're tied for me just because Bo Nix is really one of the oldest quarterbacks in terms of experience. I think he played 6 years in college. He's got a ton of experience under him. He's a guy you expect to play at a high level right away due to the fact he's had so much experience. But I do like McCarthy. I would give him the edge. I would say he's the 4th guy to go. McCarthy, he played the system really well in Michigan. People like to downplay him because of how good of a team he had and his system and how he didn't throw too much. But when he did throw, you can watch. I mean, he throws a good spiral. He knows how to make the plays. I mean, the guys are open. No one's going to deny that. He played in a really good system. So, that is that scare. But for me, he's not that Zach Wilson crazy talent, and he ends up going super high in the draft because he had some crazy pro day. He's got tape. He's been there for a couple of years. He runs the offense well. He's going to be a game manager. He's not going to be some superstar. He's going to be a middle of the pack quarterback. But is he worth the 4th pick in the draft? For me, I think he's a really good value if the Vikings take him at 11, but I don't think he's going to go at 11. I think he's going to go high. So I think the first 4 picks are all going to be quarterback. That's my prediction.
Wow. Well, that's kind of what everybody's talking about. And the Cardinals obviously are trading out for that to happen. So Penix, you definitely think is in that next tier.
I'm not high on Penix. I don't know. I'm not buying him. Too many injuries like McDaniels again. I forgot to mention that about him, but I've never really bought the hype on Penix. So he's I guess the 6th guy for me.
All right, so if you're talking, all right, so out of those 6 guys, there's no doubt 2 of them are busting. So you would take, it's Daniels, not McDaniels. Don't give him a McDaniels. It's Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
And Penix, it sounds, right, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like those would be the 2 if you had to pick out of the 6. And you're not saying that McCarthy and Nix are going to be superstars, but they'll be solid QBs. And then you put Williams and May in the possible superstar category. Is that fair?
Yeah, I like May a lot. I feel like he is probably the highest ceiling, but I just don't know if Washington is the team that he'll necessarily be able to be great with. But Caleb Williams, I mean, he's going to have a pretty good roster around him as a rookie quarterback to go number one. They're going to be competing for the division right away. So I have high hopes for him. I think he's definitely going to be a superstar. I have very high hopes for Caleb Williams. And I'd say Drake May, if Washington does a good job continuing to build around him, I think he has that potential.
Well, the problem, John, with Drake May is that a guy named Mitch Trubisky played at North Carolina, and I'm telling you, put these guys in the same room and they look alike. And and everybody knows what happened with Trubisky getting taken over Watson and Mahomes. And it's a tough one for Drake May because he's got nothing to do with Mitch Trubisky. But there's that. I have that fear. I just was like, oh my God, because May was a little inconsistent from a performance perspective. Now he didn't have the supporting cast is probably the number one reason. So it's a fascinating thing because I mean obviously the league is always looking for QBs. I like Penix. I get the injury history. I wouldn't take him in the top 10. Teams like the Raiders at 13. I don't think Penix gets past them at 13. And I just think the guy has just got the ability to throw the ball deep with accuracy. He's a little older prospect as well. So he kind of almost fits the Raiders perfectly that they would take a pick like that because what they have, Aiden O'Connell and I guess Gardner Minshew's there. So they can definitely take a quarterback and he doesn't have to play, right? So, and that's going to be a huge factor with all these guys. You're right about Williams going to the Bears. And the Bears, what do they have? 9, right? They have another pick. So they're going to get another top player. I think they have 9 or 11, something like that. So that he's in the best situation. The Commanders, God bless the guy who goes there. And the Pats, I mean, at least you got the history. So you'll be happy to go there. And they're going to be patient with New England because Gerard Mayo is going to get time. He's not going to be under pressure at all for a couple of years easy.
A lot of pressure for the Bears. I mean, you mentioned Trubisky and then you have Fields. They haven't done very well with quarterbacks either. It's amazing. They're just as bad as the Jets.
Well, John, if it wasn't for one of the greatest teams of all time, right, in 1985, they would be like the Jets. Right? I guess they both have the one, right? They didn't. Besides, if you go back to Sid Luckman and because I don't know if people even understand this, like with the Bears when they had Gale Sayers and Dick Butkus, they stunk. But I don't know if people know that. So anyway, unfortunately for Gale Sayers, he didn't play a long time. So all right, man. So let's quickly get to the Giants. But before we get to the Giants, I just want to mention, as always, we really appreciate people checking out our show today, the NFL Draft Preview on all our platforms and our partners. The world famous LAR. John, I'm going to put them first today. Very thankful for them sticking with us, making sure that we're on their platform, sponsored by them, 927lar.com. Thanks for them. Spotify.com. Please subscribe, like episodes. But the best, and now, Alex, this is actually your second appearance on YouTube.com. Bouk and Zoobie. Please do us a favor. Like the episodes. Subscribe if you like the show. You get the automated downloads. So we're building a little bit of an audience, word of mouth. And now let's make sure, Fairfield University, during finals week, when students need a break from studying all day, put on a little Bouk and Zoobie on YouTube.com. So thanks again to everybody who's watching.
I actually finally figured out in my car how to listen to our show through my phone. I had so many problems with connecting it and all this other nonsense. And I'm like, I have to pay attention to what I'm doing because I had a long ride this one day. And I actually figured it out. So I heard it for the first time in my car.
In your car. You can do that through platforms. Yes, through Bluetooth technology, which has probably been around about 15 years now, Alex. What do you think? Alex is like,
no,
John's
I'm not even going to explain what I went through, but it's okay. I figured it out after 15 minutes.
Alex, John went on AM radio looking for YouTube.com. He's like, it's got to be somewhere on this dot. All this other bad sports talk I'm hearing. My God, awful. Anyway, so appreciate everybody. Alex, make sure you spread the word up there in Fairfield. What about, yeah, I have to ask this one way off subject for a sec for Alex. When it came to UConn winning the NCAA championship, how does that go down on Fairfield's campus? Do people care?
No, no one cares at all. Absolutely not.
All right. How to get that in, Jeff?
Hey, Fairfield was actually in the NCAAs.
Yeah, they choked in the MAC championship. So
No, they didn't make it, John. They didn't make the tournament.
Oh, I thought they made it. No,
no,
they
they
didn't
went
make it.
NIT.
Oh, NIT.
They
Okay. I
almost
don't
made
know
it,
why I
right?
thought
Yeah,
Fairfield.
they choked in the conference championship. Should have had
Right.
it.
Okay. They probably saw it the week before. Okay.
They almost made it. But anyway, all right. So top 10, we've gone through the quarterbacks. We're thinking, Joe Walt's in there. Giants, very intriguing at 6. John, we're going to start with you. What do you think about the Giants? Are they going to get involved in this quarterback craziness, or are they just going to sit there and maybe get Marvin Harrison at 6? Oh, Jet fans are going to be crying if
They're
that happens.
yeah, they are. They're in no man's land. The Giants.
But it might be
As far
perfect
as-
land, though. It might be perfect. They might get They might get the best player in the draft. You never know. It
Yeah,
could happen.
but do you think that that's what they actually going to go for, or they're just going to go for the best guy that's left in the draft?
If 4 quarterbacks go top 4, and then say I'll throw Alt in there, so and he goes 5th. I mean, Harrison might go 5th, and Alex, please, you might say you're nuts thinking the Giants can get him at 6, but they can get him or Malik Neighbors at 6. I think they're going weapon here. They're stuck with Daniel Jones for another year. I can't reach. I can't reach for Bo Nix or Penix at 6. I'm not. If McCarthy slides, I guess they obviously could take him at 6. I wouldn't do it. I don't.
I
I
don't
mean, I
think they're
like
going to go
McCarthy.
for
I
a
don't
quarter.
love him.
Yeah, I don't think they're going for a. I don't think they'll have a chance to get the quarterback that they need. I don't think they'll have a chance at that. Are they going to go wide receiver? Do
I
you
don't know. What do
think?
you think, Alex?
I think they're going to go for defense,
I
like they
think
always do.
I think they need to add honestly the best player available. They need to add that talent on offense. They have no talent on offense, and that's what the Giants are lacking. They lost Saquon. They don't have their guy on offense. I think Harrison's going to go 5. I feel like the Chargers are not going to pass on Harrison. I would be shocked if they did. If Harrison doesn't go 4, he's going 5. But I think Neighbors has a very, very good chance to be there at 6. And I think Neighbors should be the pick at 6. That's what I think the Giants should do, personally.
All right, Malik Neighbors at 6. So yeah, so that's pretty much it, John. So with the top 10, Roma Dunze, which we've mentioned, will a defensive player get taken in the top 10? It looks like 8. Atlanta is the obvious spot. So there's a few pass rushers, edge players. There's actually some good corners, but I don't know. I mean, maybe Atlanta goes. So names, it's Dallas Turner is an edge. He gets mentioned a lot. There's a couple of corners, right? Terry and Arnold. This kid, what is it? Quinion Mitchell, right? There's 2 Mitchells that everybody will get confused with. Kid he played at Toledo is now potentially a top 15 pick at corner. People love to get corners. It's just such an offensive draft because of QBs. So if you're looking for defense in this draft in the top 15, you are a happy guy because you're going to get one of the top 2 or 3 defenders at 15 probably. That's how crazy this is going to be for offense.
I'm going to ask both of you, what are the chances of the Giants actually trading out of their pick? Alexander, what do you think? What are the chances that the Giants trade out?
I think it's a pretty good chance if neither the Patriots or the Cardinals trade down, because if there's still that 4th quarterback to go, if the Vikings don't make a move to move up earlier, there's a lot less first round to give up to get the 6. So I think there's a good chance. I don't know what other team would want to jump that high. Like I couldn't see the Raiders giving up that much. I couldn't see like the Broncos doing that. I think if they do trade back, it's like either like a swap with maybe a team like the Titans or the Falcons that want to say like we want neighbors or something, and they make that move, and then the Giants go in a different direction. But I would say that if they do trade down, it's probably not farther than 11 with the Vikings. I don't think any other team's going to give up that much value to get JJ McCarthy. So I could see something like that, but nothing drastic.
Well,
What
it's
do you think?
almost a virtual guarantee that Minnesota's making a trade, right? So they've got 11 and 23 in the first round. They're going to package these 2 picks, and they're going to go to either Arizona, the Giants are possible, John. That's where that scenario really happens. And the Chargers, obviously, at 5 could also, who knows what Jim Harbaugh is going to do? He's a complete wild card at 5. That could
Yes,
go
he is.
any direction. So that's what makes it, that's why I thought bringing up Harrison, because I don't trust Harbaugh. I have no idea what he's going to do. So that could just change everything. And I think the Giants are actually kind of sitting pretty, hoping that all these quarterbacks go. So if I'm a Giant fan, I'm actually pretty happy to see these quarterbacks go because you make Daniel Jones, you're stuck with them for this year no matter what, and then they can make another decision down the road. I just can't imagine this team just picking a guy at 6 at QB and then just having him sit and they're going to force feed him with crazy man Daboll as head coach. Can you imagine with a rookie under pressure where he has to perform? So my guy Daboll might blow a gasket, even though everyone's like playing this down all of a sudden. I've never seen a guy like with your eyes like say like, okay, he's a little bit of a hothead, and then everyone praising him, behind the scenes. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens in 2024.
And the reason why I'm saying that I think that the Giants are in no man's land is they could easily mess this up. Easily mess it up. That's what I think. I don't, for some reason, I have in the back of my mind that they're going to trade out of this slot.
All right.
If it's
It's
not
very
Harrison, I think that they're going to trade out. I just don't know. I don't know if they're going to mess this up. I mean, they have like that middle, when you're talking about pick number 6, I don't know if they know what they're going to do with that. If, like Alexander was saying, if Harrison's there, I think he'll go to them. But I don't think he's going to be there. I
Well,
don't think
but
so.
right. So, but the whole drama is that if 4 quarterbacks go 1 through 4, only one player, John, has to be taken outside of Harrison for the Giants to
Right,
get a shot at Harrison. That's
right,
what I'm talking about. So
right.
that's going to be, if you're a Giant fan, you want to see those 4 quarterbacks go off the board. It takes you from taking one, and it gets you probably, you could argue now people saying he's got a bit of an attitude. I've watched Harrison play numerous times. That guy gives it all the time. I think that's a bad rap. He didn't want to work out at the combine, and
Who
maybe he's a
cares?
little bit of a
Yeah,
diva, but I mean, his
yeah,
dad, he was, he's a Hall of Famer, and
right,
even though he had his
right.
issues, but I
Hey, they
don't know.
said
I
the
just
same
can't imagine.
exact thing like about his father. But look at him. How many times did they call his father a malcontent? I mean,
Well,
it's
right, but he performed. He was a performer.
he
He's a quiet
performed.
guy. He had some
Whatever they
issues.
do on the football field, that's all you care about. The fact that he didn't want to do the combine, who cares? You know
Anyway,
what his speed is. You know what he can do.
so as Alex said, the Giants need a lot. Back to the Jets quickly for people out there. Again, it's not a sleeper need; it's a major need. Is safety. Hopefully, Alex will throw in one of his guys. Maybe he's a safety. John, is it time for this? Is it time for the Alexander Stam predictions for players that he likes that GMs are going to blow by not taking in the first round? He says he told us pre-show that he had 3 guys. So, Alex, I got the pen. You're up.
I did
Who are your
too.
3?
I'm ready to write it down.
Write them
All right.
down, folks, and go to
So
DraftKings. All right, what do you got? No, only kidding. It's not. I don't know how you can bet that, right? Oh, this guy's gonna be one of the best. But I don't think you can get money on that. So let's. So last year, Jaden Reed, right, Alex, and Tony Aleopio, whatever his name is, with the Chargers. Sorry, Tuli.
Rams.
I'm sorry, I say Chargers, right? Rams. Those were two of his guys from last year. Were both taken in the second round. Both, right? He didn't win Defensive Rookie of the Year, unfortunately, because they gave it to Anderson, right? So I think he finished second, Tuli, in the voting.
Yeah, just missed it.
Just missed it, and you can obviously pronounce his name correctly if you dare. And Jaden Reed had a great year for the Packers. So those, just so the people out there, is that he's got some street cred / Bouk and Zoobie cred. So all right, Alex, we got the pen out.
All right, so first guy, I got a tight end here. So it's not Brock Bowers. Prediction is to be the second best tight end in the class. I don't know exactly where he's going to go. He's one of those guys where he got injured a bunch in college, kind of got his draft stock messed up. But he is from Iowa. And if you know anything about Iowa tight ends, George Kittle went either 4th or 5th round. It was 5th. Okay. And TJ Hawkinson, just to name another one. Two of the best tight ends in the league right now. So the name for you is Eric All, tight end from Iowa. Really good speed, really good. They line him up sometimes to play in the slot. Really good blocker. He doesn't have a crazy tape. He doesn't have like the stats that you would want to see from a guy to go super high, which is why he doesn't have that production in college to go super high in the draft. He doesn't have the Brock Bowers stats, but he's my prediction to be the second best tight end in the class. So
how do you spell his last name? I've heard the guy, but is it
A-L-L?
It is A-L-L. Oh man.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's my first guy for you. I'll switch it up here and go defense now. So I watched 2 Duke football games this year. You might be asking me, why'd you watch Duke football? That's a great question. The first game I watched was Duke Clemson. It was like the first regular season game or whatever for college, right? I remember Duke blew them out that game, and people were calling Clemson frauds and whatever. But Duke had crazy pressure on the quarterback the whole game, and I wasn't really familiar with any of the players on Duke, to be honest with you. The second game I watched that season was Duke, North Carolina. I remember went to overtime, and I think North Carolina won on like a 2-point conversion. It was a really good game. And another guy who I actually now knew his name from the second game is Dwayne Carter. He's in that interior defensive line guy. So he's the type of player where he's going to get a ton of pressure on the quarterback, but he's not going to have the stat sheet that shows up and says, oh, he had double-digit sacks this year, or he had a crazy amount of tackles. He's like 6'3", 300 pounds, gets double-teamed a ton. I like him a lot. He's, I think, more of the later round, more like 3rd, 4th. I think he's going to slide a little bit later. But I think he's not going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'll tell you that. But because he's not going to have the stats to do it. He's one of those guys that every play causes trouble, gets a lot of pressure on the quarterback, gets a lot of double teams. He's over 300 pounds. He's playing that interior defensive line. He's a guy that personally I would love to have on my team. He's not going to be a big name though. So
all right, Dwayne Carter. Dwayne, you said, right?
Yep, Dwayne Carter.
Dwayne Carter, Duke. So is he like a 3 technique or a 5 technique, or is like
the 4-3 scheme, and he's gonna get a lot of double teams in the middle.
Okay, so he's a 4. That's a 4 technique or a 3 technique and a 4-3. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, it's a good one, man. That's all right, good. Two guys I did not know Carter at all. All I have heard of, but all right, here we go. I love it. What's he number 3?
So Dwayne Carter is my prediction to be like the best, but I don't think he's going to be like a big name guy in the league. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's just super productive. But for my third guy, I want to get you 2 really good ones. But for my third one, it's a little bit of a biased pick, but it's Luke McCaffrey, the brother of Christian McCaffrey. I absolutely think that they have some of the best genetics you'll ever see. Dad played in the NFL, has his son coming in the NFL, best running back in the league, unanimous this past year. And now he has his brother, who I wasn't familiar with until about 2 years ago. I remember seeing on Instagram, like his highlight of him, like mossing some guy in the end zone. And it looked like the stadium was like empty. And I was like, Rice football? Like, who do you know that goes to Rice and is like a big time college player? It's a really irrelevant school when it comes to Division I football. But if you look at his tape, he has great athleticism without a doubt. Really good route runner, super fast. He ran a faster 40-yard dash than his brother Christian. Really good hands. I think he's one of those guys that goes mid-round in the draft. And personally, the reason why I want to throw him out there, he's like one of those guys where if the Jets don't go receiver in the first round, I want to see him be a guy that the Jets go and grab. I think having him as the third receiver, under Rodgers, there's going to be really no pressure for him. But if he can get open, Rodgers is going to find him. So personally, he's a guy I want the Jets to get in the later round. So
That's a good, wow. These guys, so I will say that all three of these players are probably more going to be third rounders, maybe, and on, right? So if you pull this one off, that will be pretty impressive if these guys are productive NFL players. And Alex, we're definitely not just going to look at the statistics. Bouk and Zoobie show, we're very into snap percentage. That to me is really a stat that tells a lot how often you're on the field. Now, obviously, defensive linemen rotate, so you have to be aware of that. So you have to look at the complete package. You got two playmakers and you got a defensive guy. I don't know, John, it's pretty impressive. What do you think? You're like Rice. Are you kidding me? So didn't McCaffrey transfer though to Rice? Didn't he play somewhere else? I believe.
he might have went to actually Stanford first. And then I
Because
think he might have
he went to a bigger, I don't know the answer, but I think he went to a bit larger school and then he just wasn't playing. I don't know what happened. And I've definitely heard his name. I think you're right. He's in that 4th to 5th round. There's tons of receivers in this draft. There really are. We haven't even scratched the surface really about the amount of guys that are going to be impact players. There's all types. So really, I mean, there's in between, I'd say in the first 3 rounds, what do you think? At least 15 receivers are going in the first 3 rounds. I mean, there's
Really? Wow.
there's a lot of depth.
Unbelievable. It's almost every year now, but it's just because guys know they're getting paid at receiver. They don't want to be running backs. No one wants to be a running back anymore. And how can you blame them? So they want to be wideouts. And there's nothing wrong with it, and even tight ends. And also, didn't Sam Laporta go to Iowa too, right? Didn't Laporta go to
Iowa? Iowa produces tight ends, so to say an Iowa tight end in the draft isn't a crazy pick. So
yeah, exactly. All right, I love it. So we'll put those in you got them written down. I wrote them down too, John.
I wrote them down.
So post draft next week, believe it or not, right? Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So we're going to go over Alex's picks and see where they end up and what round they get picked. They will definitely get drafted. There's no doubt about that. And then we'll see how they do. It'll be it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely 3rd, 4th, 5th rounders here. I mean, wow, if you could get McCaffrey, I mean that's a pretty good point you made. They definitely have great genes in that family. But you're saying that he is faster than his brother? His brother's really fast.
Yeah, he timed in at the 40-yard dash faster. So, I mean, that doesn't mean he's going to be incredible because he ran faster than his brother. But I just think it's a little funny how he did time it a little bit quicker than Christian.
Well, it doesn't hurt. He has good hands too, along with that speed. How tall is he? Do you have any idea what his height is and all that?
Yeah, so Christian McCaffrey's 5'11", but his brother Luke is actually 6'2". So he actually has 3 inches on him, and tiny bit faster than him. So maybe he's just the better brother. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay. Now I got to go to YouTube.
There you go. Well, hopefully that would be great if the Jets got him later in the draft. That would be a good pick for the Jets because there's arguments for waiting for skill players, and you're supposed to get interior players in the high premium picks, throwing out quarterback. So we'll definitely obviously get to the post draft stuff, how the Jets and the Giants, what we thought, any other big news. So I don't know, John, you want to start moving to some other sports because Alex, it's NFL draft week, but man, in the New York area, it's a big winter sport week, and both our beloved Knicks and Rangers had, I will call them, workmanlike victories, John. I think that would be a way of saying it because they both showed like, okay, a little worrisome, but they just got the job done, and they're both up 1-0. And I guess the Knicks are playing as we speak, right? I mean, you got the game on in the corner there, or you taped it?
Yeah, they're down by 7 with like 7 minutes to go in the second quarter, and I love the press just disgusts me. Okay, because they're talking about, oh, Embiid is questionable, Maxey has an illness, he's questionable. Guess what? They're the two top scorers tonight. All right. Yeah, I don't care what kind of illness Maxey has. He's not missing. When I saw that, I said, how dumb are these people to report this? And Embiid is going to play even if his leg is falling off. I mean, he hurt himself in the last game, and in the second half, he was just, almost like being a guard, just passing the ball. He couldn't really do much on that leg. But yeah, they're up by 7 with 7 minutes to go. The Knicks are shooting. I'm looking at it right now. It's shooting terribly. I mean, I see a lot of 0 for 4, 0 for 6. Brunson again is having a tough time. Another tough night.
That's not good.
Actually, Josh Hart is the top scorer right now for the Knicks.
Wow, he bailed them out in game 1, Josh Hart. He was tremendous down the stretch with those threes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So Alex, you're a Knick guy too, right? You
Yeah.
into the NBA?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, game 1, I was definitely nervous. Going down early, and they called timeout. And after the timeout, I thought the Knicks would adjust because it seemed like their plan was to overplay Brunson and immediately send a double team past the 3-point line once he got inside. And the Knicks did not adjust. When Thibs didn't make an adjustment, I was nervous then. I was like, all right, we're about to drop game 1 because Thibs is not making an adjustment here. And Embiid was playing very well to start that game. And then he goes and does a self alley-oop and injures his leg after
That was
humiliating
the
the Knicks.
dumbest play.
It was probably the most athletic play I've ever seen a 7-foot guy do. And then he goes and hurts his leg and can't see out of one of his eyes after. And he just comes back like 10 minutes later and starts dominating again. So I don't know what that was all about. But I definitely got a good scare in game 1. And right now they're down. And it's the same situation as the first game. They get down early, but let's see if they respond on this one. But
Yeah, I mean, as I said during the NBA NBA preview show that we had, playoff preview, I didn't want to face the 76ers. Even though I think the Knicks are still going to beat them, it's going to be a war. And you saw it in game 1. I'm sure this was going to see the same thing in game 2, and then we go to Philadelphia after this. Philadelphia is not exactly the easiest place to play either. I mean, they do very well. And listen, the NBA is very unpredictable. I mean, a lot of the games this weekend were a joke. I mean, they weren't even close. The fact of the matter is the Pacers. You have Yanni on the sidelines here. And Lillard just tore him apart. Scored 35 points at the half. And it was so far ahead, they just decided to rest him. I mean, he really didn't even do anything the second half. He didn't care to. So the one game that was a great game was the Pelicans and the Thunder. That was a great game. And no one thought that was going to be a close game. Gamal was sweating it out there with his OKC. They only won by 2.
Hey, that's new territory for OKC, John. It's a new season. It's just like the NHL. It's a second season, and so people when they watch this, the game will obviously be over. So they'll be like, Alex and John are not actually watching; they're watching out of the corner of their eye during the show. And once they're fully watching, and with myself in the second half, our good karma will bring the Knicks to victory. So that is I don't know if I'm going to predict that, John, because I don't know. You picking them to win the champ. I mean, Gamal picking them. No, you picked them to win the championship. My mistake. I'm sorry. And then Steve last week picking them, or the other day, I should say, picking the Rangers to win. and now I'm cringing on every shot and puck flying by. So quickly on the hockey, uh, John, I was crazy busy. I was outside that Sunday afternoon stuff. I can't do it. I missed basically the first period. I
We're better
started
off.
watching, no score, no joke, 17 minutes to go in the second period. It was no score. I sat down, they put three in a row, including goal number one, Matt Rempe. What a great game for Matt Rempe. It's a great story. I mean, and he is playing good hockey. Let him play. So that's the big story with the Rangers. Igor did the job. The Caps just, I did say 7. That was one of those,
Yeah.
if the Rangers do bad, at least I could feel good about something predictions. But if I had to take it back, I'd probably be thinking this should be over in 5 at least, like Steve said. I think he said 5 or 6. So good for
Yeah.
Steve. So the Islanders did lose. I believe they're probably playing now too, John, right? Are they playing tonight? And what are they
I,
doing? We'll give everybody an update.
Yeah, they're tonight.
Hmm? All right, we got to get a score for them.
yeah. The one thing about the Ranger game, because I actually did not see I was actually in the city, and I actually tried to get out of the city because I had to go through Penn Station. I was eating with Ranger fans, and one of them was actually wearing a Nicky Fotiu throwback. Actually, it wasn't a throwback. I think the man probably bought it when Nicky Fotiu was with the Rangers, older man, and he tried to. He says everyone keeps comparing Rempe with Fotiu, and I'm like, what's the comparison? What, that they beat up on people? I said, if I remember correctly, Mr. Paul,
Yes.
and your memory will serve better than me, Nicky Fotiu didn't really have many skills at all.
No, no. Rempe's actually got some talent, John. He does have
Right,
talent. Nicky was just he was a fighter. But that was a
right.
different era. He could skate. Fatiou could skate though. He was a good skater. But yeah, he was obviously known more for his being a fighter. But that's when there were fights almost every game back in that era. Rempe's kind of bringing that old era back with some other guys. So hockey's kind of shifting back a little bit to more of the old days. But he's got talent. He played well. I mean, their fourth line played great in that game. Matter of fact, they played better than that top line.
They just
The
sleepwalk through
Rangers
the
are.
first.
What was that?
They just sleepwalk through the first period. I
They
mean,
did. So they are. I know I'm a worry wart, but I'm still worried about them. And by the way, the Islanders up 2-0 at the end of one.
oh
Good for
wow,
them.
wow,
There
good.
you go. You had that, John. You were thinking they could beat the Hurricanes. So after
Yeah,
dropping one, they're up. Now in this game, the same thing will happen. We'll see if I give them the hex and mention the good things about the Islanders. So anything else in the NBA you guys want to throw out there?
really, just a couple of quick things. Blake Griffin officially retired.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to correct myself about Jamal Crawford. I mentioned about coming off the bench with the 51 points. He actually did that with the Suns.
Oh,
He
okay.
did that with the Suns. It wasn't with the Clippers. And the ironic thing was that it was almost exactly 5 years to the day that we were talking about it. He did it on April 9th, 2019.
Oh
The
yeah,
oldest player to score over 50 points in NBA history, which I totally forgot that fact too.
really?
Oldest,
Okay. There
yeah,
you go.
oldest. And the
Yeah, so
last thing is Jonte Porter, as we know, is banned for life. And you got Knucklehead Barkley saying, well, he's a young guy. You should have given him anywhere from 3 to 5. He made a mistake. I said, yeah, no, he's gone.
what that might be the dumbest. I mean, that is beyond dumb. Let's do a prop bet that has me asking out because I'm ill, and then all this money is won because I played and I got paid. What do you get? 2 rebounds and no points. So, Alex, do you know the story of Jonte? What's Porter, right? Do you know that story?
Water.
A
Yeah.
little bit, yeah. He just kind of did he even win money or did he lose? Because I saw that he had net winnings that were like less than what he originally placed,
Yeah,
claiming he lost money betting,
yeah,
and now he's banned from the
yeah, the guy's a complete idiot. He was
So what
making
you're
so much.
saying that some of his prop bets that he bet against himself, he actually outperformed the prop bet?
Yeah,
No,
so
yeah, go ahead, Al.
I think what he did was he just bet on the NBA, but he just lost money, and now he's
Right.
still banned for life, which is like the dumbest thing, like thinking about it.
Okay.
He was making a lot more money. What was he? I just don't get it. It doesn't. You just can't measure the stupidity in some people. It's amazing. This is beyond stupidity.
Yeah. Well, he
Uh,
was a borderline player, right? So he was borderline
yeah,
roster
but
guy, right?
borderline in NBA can be
Yeah.
$5 million a year.
No, I know, I know. Please, I'm just saying, just to give the people context who we're talking about. But okay, so yeah, he even lost money betting games that he participated in, but didn't he did do a prop bet where they won, I believe,
Right.
and they
Yeah.
refused to pay it. They did not pay it out because they knew it was a fraud because he said he was sick and it was an under, points or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, it
All
was
right. You
millions.
win the dumbest person of 2024, and there's a lot of competition out there for that award.
Please, please, crazy stuff. One other thing in the NFL, uh, and Paul, will remember this quarterback. Alexander definitely would not remember this. Roman Gabriel passed away.
He did. All right. There you go.
Roman Gabriel, yep, first Filipino quarterback in NFL history who actually even won the MVP, which I didn't know about in 1969, and is the all-time winningest quarterback in Rams history.
Yeah.
So great quarterback. If you look at some of his statistics, it's pretty funny where you can actually see that it was more of a running game than
Oh, yeah.
passing back then. But not again, not bad numbers, not bad numbers at all.
And he was a bit of a heartthrob, right? He was like a Vince Ferragamo before Vince Ferragamo. And Alex is like, who the heck is Vince Ferragamo? So there you go. So that's like the Jimmy Garoppolo. There you go. So
Right, right. But and it's funny you mentioned that because while he was a football player, he was in many movies, many movies. All
yeah,
those producers out there, especially that he was playing in L.A. at the
right.
time. They were putting him in all these movies
That's a
with
fact.
Deacon Jones and Jim Brown, all these guys.
All right. Well, John, we're going to give you a little one. We're not even going to say it. Are we going to say it? And it's time for baseball with Bouk.
So before I start with New York Mets, I do want to mention someone who I did not know passed away that I worked with. And they actually mentioned it on the Mets telecast out in LA. I think it was Sunday's game. Dennis D'Agostino. Dennis D'Agostino uh, worked with me when I was first as an intern and turned into a regular job with the New York Mets in public relations. He was actually the assistant public relations director. I had no idea he was only 6 years older than me. I thought he was a lot older than I was. He passed away at 66 years old of a heart attack. And,
That's not good.
he went from the Mets, became the historian for the Knicks and their statistician. Then, when he got married, he actually went out and became the statistician and historian for the LA Dodgers. So he was working next to Vin Scully for many years, many years. I was just shocked when they announced it, and then when I went on uh, online, that he actually passed in September. And I want to give my condolences. He was a great guy. Always, he was always making jokes. Some I can't repeat on the air, but he always kept everyone on their toes. And he used to write a lot of the press releases for the Mets. I used to watch him. Even though they had computers, it wasn't like the way they are now. So I used to go sometimes on a typewriter and I used to hear him tapping away and just giving it to the press. So I was very sad to hear Dennis D'Agostino passed away. Great guy, really, really great guy. And for someone who was an intern, and there were several other interns, he treated us like gold. He absolutely treated us like gold, and like one of his peers. And I was very sad to hear that he passed. So let's get back to the Mets. So believe it or not, if the Mets win tonight, and they keep talking about what a great Yankee start, how the Yankees started great. If the Mets win tonight, they would have one less victory than the Yankees after all the hype. By the way, the Yankees got shut out today 2-0 by the Oakland A's of all teams.
All right, so
at Yankee Stadium.
My under 91.5 might not be dead, John. I stuck with it. Anyway, all right.
Well, they had this kid on the A's. I know I'm going around in a circle here. They had this kid on the A's, Miller, who was throwing 103 miles an hour. He struck out Volpe, Judge. I'm trying to remember who the third person was. Soto. He struck them all out on 103 mile an hour fastballs. He just blew it by them.
Relief pitcher, I'm assuming.
Relief pitcher. Yeah, he was amazing. Amazing.
Okay. All right.
Someone to look out for.
All right.
Again, the Mets, they ended up getting rid of my man again.
Tonkin's gone.
Tonkin was released after pitching. The guy's not a very good pitcher. I don't even know why they put it. Maybe just to eat some innings, but he's gone again.
All right.
And of course, another pitcher will be released when Martinez is coming back on Friday, so we can finally have a set lineup. Unfortunately, Alvarez is going to be out for 2 months, at least. He has a torn ligament in his left thumb.
At least, yep.
So Tomas Nido is back with being a good defensive catcher, but not hitting much at all. And it was a great Whitey Herzog story. I have to say it because, as you know, I mentioned it a couple of days ago that he passed away. There was a story that at the time he had developed, as you know, he was a minor league director when he was with the Mets, and he developed Seaver, Kuzman, Ryan, Gentry, McAndrew, all these top pitchers they had. So he was not allowed to give his input when they were trading Ryan and several players for Jim Fregosi. They actually told him after the fact, and he went and told M. Donald Grant he would have not traded. There was a guy called Leroy Stanton who wasn't a bad player. He wouldn't have traded him 1-to-1 with Fregosi. He was irate with the Ryan trade, and he voiced his opinion. And as you know, right after that trade, very soon after, Hodges passed away. M. Donald Grant did not allow him to attend the funeral of Gil Hodges because he voiced his opinion. I mean, and then he left after that. He says, I'm done. After they wouldn't allow him to attend the funeral, he was gone. He left. So M. Donald Grant, for those of you who don't know who he was a cheapskate, meddling chairman of the Mets who eventually traded Seaver and Kingman and everyone, Rusty Staub at the time, because they wanted more money. And that's when the Mets started falling apart, and we had many, many years of last place finishes. So other than that,
how does Reed Garrett not get some love out of you in baseball with Bouk? This guy, did we even talk about this guy? I mean,
no,
I know
he didn't even make the team out of spring training.
He did not even make the team. And so where did they get? I think it was the Tigers had him.
No, right? he actually was with the Orioles.
The Orioles, okay.
And He's 31 years old. And let me tell you something. The person who stuck up for him was Hefner, because Hefner used to work together with him. And Hefner told the Mets, we need to hold on to this guy. Let's work with him. And I have to say, he's pitched great. I mean, he has bailed us out. He pitched 33 pitches the day before, and they asked him, can you close the game? Because Diaz threw too many pitches in the 8th inning when they wanted him to pitch to Ohtani and Freeman. And he struck out the side. He got his first save of his career. First save of his career.
I do want to quickly, before we got to get out of here so everybody can watch the second half of the Knick game. But I had texted you about Diaz. I'm a little worried about Diaz. So you think you're not concerned? He's definitely not throwing as hard as he's done in the past. He came out that game, I texted you, with throwing sliders, and he wasn't throwing any fastballs. Then he did eventually throw a few. So any concerns there?
No, I just think he's rusty.
Okay.
I think he's rusty. I think he needs to get in more games. And I think the weather is not exactly helping out. I mean, do you really want to be throwing hard in 55-degree weather, which we still have at the end of April in New York and New Jersey and Connecticut? It's ridiculous. This weather is ridiculous. Yeah, no, I would be more concerned with him overthrowing in this type of weather. I'd rather he lay off on the velocity until the weather warms up.
All right, so you're not concerned. Okay, that's cool.
No, I just think he's a little rusty.
All right.
He hasn't gotten in enough games to get some type of momentum. And listen, before this past game, he really didn't throw for almost a week in a game. There was no reason for them to use him.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get one last update out of Alex, who I know is like, why am I'm listening to stuff about the Mets when I could be watching the Knicks. What is going on, Alex, before we say goodnight? What is the latest score? Is it halftime?
We got halftime. We got Knicks down 4. It'll be interesting. I'll definitely be watching this. So.
All right. Well, all right, John, let's get out of here. The Knicks did cut it to 4 because that's huge, right? You have 4 points to half is nothing. All right, man, let's say goodnight and thank everybody. And thank you, Alex, again for joining the show. I'm telling you, I mean, you got a future here. You know, I know your parents are probably like, no more Bouk and Zoobie. You're done with that fantasy. But I don't know. If you hit it 2 years in a row, man, you're going to start getting some, I don't know, you're going to get some feelers for some GMs around the league. What do you think? A little assistant to the assistant here, John.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're going to get like 3 or 4 mentions from Paul during the year, because that's all he was talking about. Alexander.
Picks. I won't kill it. Yeah, if it doesn't work again, I won't bring it up, Alex. So don't worry about it. But anyway, thanks again for coming on the show.
You.
Yeah, I tried giving you even more sleepers this time, but
these are good.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think Jaden Reed was gonna go second round last year. I thought he was gonna be like 4th, 5th, but I was actually really shocked he went the second. So I wasn't too shocked by the other guy, but when he went second round, I was like, okay, well now he has to be good. But
awesome. All right, well, let's see how you guys do. Next week we'll be back, right, John? Probably back to our normal Tuesday night, posting on Wednesday. Tonight's show will be posted for tomorrow, so people can listen in and get some information about the draft.
Yeah. All right. So as always, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake, and to our loyal listeners and viewers. We love the feedback. We love the comments. Keep them coming. Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. See you next week.